The Galactic Empire ruled 1,000 star systems with iron fists. Its fleets were massive, its weapons capable of destroying entire planets, and its power absolute. Any species that dared challenge them vanished without a trace. Across the galaxy, billions lived in fear, obeying the Empire's strict laws and endless taxes. No one dared question the Empire, except the humans. News came to the High Command that a human fleet had entered the outer sectors. Reports called it strange, unpredictable, and dangerous, but the Empire laughed. Humans were primitive, fragile, and untested. They could barely maintain their old starships. Surely they were no threat. Admiral Varric stood on the bridge of the Horizon's Wrath, staring at the human ships on the holo display. "Old, battered, barely armed," he said with a smirk. "This will be an easy victory." His officers nodded, relief washing over them. They had fought thousands of wars and crushed dozens of civilizations. Humans were nothing more than another species to conquer. But there was something in the humans' formation that unsettled Varric. Their ships moved as one, with discipline and purpose. They weren't scattered. They weren't panicked. Every vessel maintained precise distance and speed. No other species in the galaxy, not even those indoctrinated by the Empire, could move with such unity in the face of danger. Varric's chest tightened, but he ignored it. Confidence had always been his weapon. "Prepare the fleets," he ordered. "We crush them before they even reach us." Far away, aboard the lead human ship, Indomitable, Captain Elias Kane walked silently along the bridge. His crew were busy checking weapons, running repairs, and monitoring communications. He paused, staring at the stars on the holomap. Every system the Empire touched had known terror. Billions had fled, countless worlds had been stripped bare, and entire species had been enslaved. Yet here they were, the humans, moving into the lion's den with no fear. Kane's eyes softened as he looked at his crew. Young pilots, some barely out of training, stood ready at their stations. Engineers, some with hands scarred from years of repairs, worked tirelessly to keep aging systems alive. They were ordinary humans by galactic standards, but extraordinary in courage. "They think we are weak," Kane said quietly. "Let them see what humans do when their backs are against the wall." A few crew members glanced at him, feeling the same steady resolve that had carried humanity across centuries of wars, hardships, and near extinction. The human fleet did not send warnings, did not beg for recognition, and did not negotiate. They simply advanced. One by one, Empire reconnaissance ships tried to intercept, only to vanish without explanation. Panic began to ripple through the Empire's outposts. "Impossible," whispered an officer in Varric's command tower. "These humans, they are not ordinary." Varric slammed his fist on the table. "Silence. They are nothing. Our fleets will crush them." But even as he spoke, unease crept in. Across the human armada, engineers ran diagnostics and pilots adjusted their courses. Every ship was battered, some carrying scars from long voyages and minor skirmishes. Yet none showed fear. On Indomitable, Kane leaned over the tactical console, his face calm but determined. "We are not here to be crushed," he said. "We are here to protect the innocent, to defend those who cannot fight. And if the Empire wants to test us, let them." The galaxy watched, unknowingly holding its breath. The Empire, confident in its unmatched power, believed the humans would be crushed as countless species before them had been. But the humans did not flinch, did not scatter, and did not surrender. Somewhere deep in the heart of the Empire, a flicker of fear began to grow, a silent warning that the galaxy would soon see, one star system at a time, that humans were not to be underestimated. Captain Kane took a deep breath, glancing at the fleet. "Let them come," he said softly. "They will learn what humans are made of." And with that, the armada of battered, determined ships surged forward, straight into the path of the most powerful military force the galaxy had ever known. The first encounter came without warning. Empire cruisers, sleek and terrifying, emerged from hyperspace, their massive weapons glowing with deadly energy. Their engines roared and their formation moved like a living wall. Across the galaxy, millions watched from distant colonies, imagining the humans crushed before they could react. But the humans did not flinch. Aboard the Indomitable, Captain Elias Kane gripped the railing of the bridge. His eyes were steady, his mind sharp. "Hold formation," he ordered. "Do not panic. We fight with skill and heart, not fear." His crew moved like a single unit, hands steady, voices calm. Engineers adjusted shields, Pilots plotted impossible maneuvers and gunners prepared for the first volley. The Empire fired first. Massive beams of energy tore through the darkness of space, slicing into human ships. Explosions rippled through the fleet and alarms blared. Yet the human ships moved as if alive. Shields shimmered, absorbing blows that would have shattered any ordinary vessel. Pilots twisted and looped in impossible patterns, evading the Empire's deadly fire with uncanny precision. Varric, watching from his flagship, scowled.
"How is this possible?"
he muttered. His officers were equally stunned. Every attack that should have destroyed a human ship failed. Instead, the humans countered with bursts of fire, hitting the Empire's cruisers in weak points. Entire squads of Empire fighters were torn apart before they could react. Confusion spread through the Imperial ranks like wildfire. "Divide and flank," Kane commanded, his voice calm but firm. Human ships split and weaved, encircling the Empire forces in ways no one had predicted. They fought not just with weapons, but with strategy, with courage, and with the kind of instinct that came from generations of survival. One by one, Empire cruisers fell, not to advanced technology alone, but to humans' cleverness and daring. The galaxy was watching, though few could comprehend what they saw. Planets under the Empire's control trembled at the news. Humans, underestimated and almost forgotten, were not just surviving, they were winning. Across distant colonies, whispers spread. Perhaps humans could fight back. Perhaps the legends of their resilience were true. Inside the human fleet, fear existed, but it did not dominate. Young pilots, their hands trembling on the controls, learned quickly from the veterans beside them. Engineers pushed beyond their limits, improvising repairs in seconds that should have taken hours. Even those huddled in cryochambers, safe but aware of the battle outside, felt the pulse of determination in every human vessel. Kane's eyes swept across the hollow map. Enemy ships fell faster than expected. He felt a pang of sorrow for the lives lost among his own, yet pride welled inside him. Each ship, each crew member had a role. Together they were more than metal and energy. They were humanity, fierce and unyielding. The Empire scrambled reinforcements, sending squadrons faster than any human craft. But the humans adapted instantly. Every new attack was met with countermeasures, feints, and daring moves that left the Empire reeling. Varric's confidence wavered. His voice grew sharp, desperate. "Focus fire! Target the leaders. Do not let them escape." A human destroyer, battered and smoking from earlier strikes, broke through the enemy line. Its captain, a young woman named Mara, transmitted a single, simple message in universal code. "We fight because we must. We survive because we will." The word spread like wildfire across the Empire's networks. Fear, that usual tool of control, began to falter. Kane turned to his crew, a faint smile on his face. They expected fear. They expected surrender. They expected us to break. They will learn otherwise. And as the human fleet advanced deeper into Empire territory, the galaxy watched in stunned silence. The humans were not just resisting, they were changing the rules of war. For the first time, a species thought weak, fragile, and unprepared had shown the galaxy that courage, heart, and unity could defy even the greatest power. The first clash was over, but the war had only begun, and one truth had already become clear. Humans were not a force to be measured by ships or weapons alone. Humans were a force of spirit, unyielding and impossible to ignore. The battle had raged for hours. The emptiness of space was filled with fire, smoke, and the distant echoes of explosions. For the humans, it was not just a fight of ships and weapons. It was a fight for survival, for hope, and for the lives of countless innocent beings who could not defend themselves. Every moment weighed heavily on Captain Elias Kane, yet he did not falter. He walked the bridge of Indomitable, watching his crew with quiet pride and deep concern. Some of the young pilots were trembling, their hands gripping controls too tightly. Their faces, pale and tense, showed fear that was entirely natural. They were barely out of training, yet they had been thrown into a storm against the most powerful force in the galaxy. Kane approached one of them, a boy named Liren, whose eyes were wide with dread. "Fear is not failure," Kane said softly. "Courage is not the absence of fear. It is what you do despite it. You are here. You are ready. You are human." Liren's hands loosened, his breathing steadied, and he returned to his station with renewed determination. In the engineering bays, sparks flew as damaged systems were repaired under extreme pressure. Teams of engineers worked in shifts, some exhausted to the point of collapse. They patched hull breaches, restored power to critical shields, and rerouted weapon systems. When one crew member, a young woman named Dara, collapsed from fatigue, her colleague helped her to her feet. "We cannot give up," he said, voice firm. "Every life aboard this ship depends on us. Every system we save keeps hope alive." And Dara nodded, tired but determined, pushing herself back into the fight. Across the human fleet, small acts of bravery added up into something extraordinary. One damaged ship, too weak to escape, deliberately rammed an enemy cruiser to save a squadron of fleeing human fighters. Another crew triggered emergency bursts to shield a civilian transport, risking their own lives to ensure that no innocents were lost. Each act, small or large, rippled through the fleet, inspiring others to do the same. It was a chain of courage, an unbroken line of human spirit. Captain Kane rarely spoke of emotion on the bridge. He kept his focus sharp, his commands precise, and his mind clear. Yet he felt the weight of every life under his command. He saw the exhaustion in the eyes of his officers, the worry etched into every line of their faces. He saw young soldiers grow brave in seconds, and he saw veterans push themselves beyond limits they thought impossible. The galaxy might have called humans weak, but here, in the midst of chaos and death, humanity showed its true strength. The Empire's attacks continued without mercy. Massive energy beams tore through space, striking at human ships with deadly intent. The humans suffered losses. Ships were destroyed, crews were lost, and the emptiness of space claimed friends and comrades alike. Each loss struck hard, yet the humans did not break. Every time a ship fell, others took its place. Every time, fear whispered in the mind of a pilot. Determination answered louder. Kane paused at the command console and watched a young pilot maneuvering skillfully despite a damaged vessel. "Remember this," he whispered to himself, a faint smile forming on his lips. "This is why humans survive. This is why we endure. Not because we are the strongest or the fastest or the best armed, but because we refuse to give up." Across the galaxy, systems that had long lived under the Empire's shadow noticed the strange reports. Humans were fighting back, and with every victory, hope spread like wildfire. People whispered in astonishment. Perhaps the stories of human courage were true. Perhaps they were the spark the galaxy needed. Kane turned to his crew, his voice calm but full of warmth. "Every one of you matters," he said. "Every life saved, every ship protected, every enemy we hold off, it counts. This is bigger than battle. This is our humanity. And that is unbreakable." Even in the darkest hours, humans endured. Even when fear and exhaustion clawed at them, they rose again. The battle was far from over, but the galaxy could already see that the humans were different, resilient, unyielding, and impossible to underestimate. And in the heart of the storm, Kane whispered one last thought, for himself as much as for the crew. "We are human. We fight. We survive. And we will not be broken." The battle had entered a new phase. The human fleet, battered but unbroken, faced an enemy determined to crush them entirely. The Galactic Empire unleashed their superweapons, massive planet-destroying engines and enormous cruisers bristling with weapons that could obliterate anything in seconds. Space itself seemed to tremble under the power of the Empire's assault. Aboard the Indomitable, Captain Elias Kane studied the holographic map. The enemy outnumbered them 10-1. Entire squadrons of cruisers, fighters, and bombers surged toward human positions. But Kane remained calm. "Focus on coordination, not fear," he told his officers. "Every ship has a role. Every life counts. We protect, we fight, we survive." His voice carried authority and warmth. The crew, inspired by his steadiness, prepared for the impossible. The humans relied not on raw firepower, but on ingenuity. Smaller ships acted as decoys, drawing enemy fire and creating openings for larger vessels to strike. Pilots executed daring maneuvers, weaving through enemy lines with skill and speed no one had expected. Engineers rigged emergency shield bursts, And weapon surges, sometimes sacrificing entire systems to save others. Each move required risk, courage, and trust in one another. Sacrifice became a theme of the battle. A destroyer, heavily damaged, rammed an Imperial cruiser to shield fleeing transports. Another ship, trapped in the crossfire, initiated an overload in its engines, creating a burst that deflected the enemy's attack and saved an entire squadron. On Indomitable, crew members watched these acts with awe and sorrow, knowing each sacrifice carried both hope and loss. Kane's eyes swept the fleet. He saw young pilots gaining confidence, older officers improvising brilliant tactics, and engineers working under extreme pressure. "Every moment we survive, every ship we save matters," Kane said quietly. "We are the shield for those who cannot fight. Our courage becomes their hope." His words were simple, but in that chaos they anchored the human fleet like a lifeline in a storm. The Empire, unaccustomed to such resistance, grew frustrated. Varric's face was tight with anger as reports came in. Entire squadrons cut down, superweapons blocked or deflected, communications disrupted. "They cannot adapt," Varric barked. "They are only human. Crush them." Yet each order executed with deadly precision failed to break the human formation. The humans' unpredictability, ingenuity, and courage confounded the Empire. Meanwhile, aboard smaller human ships, ordinary crew members performed extraordinary feats. Young cadets guided crippled ships to safety. Engineers rerouted power in seconds to restore shields. Medical teams worked tirelessly to save wounded crews, refusing to give in to despair. The courage of individuals became a chain, linking every ship, every fighter, every human into an unstoppable force of spirit. Across the galaxy, the news spread. Systems long under the Empire's control whispered tales of human resilience. Ordinary people, watching from distant planets, began to believe that maybe, just maybe, the humans could change the tide. Fear, the weapon the Empire had relied on for centuries, faltered in the face of human defiance. As the battle raged on, Kane looked at his crew with quiet pride. "We may be outnumbered," he said softly, "but we are united. Every action matters. Every choice matters. We fight not just to win a battle, but to protect life, to inspire hope, and to show the galaxy that humans do not bow." Sacrifice, ingenuity, and courage kept the human fleet alive. The Empire's forces, powerful and relentless, were held at bay by determination that no technology could break. Kane realized the truth that the galaxy was beginning to see. Humans were not measured by their weapons or numbers. They were measured by their spirit, and that spirit was unyielding. Even as explosions lit the void and ships burned in the distance, the human fleet held firm. They fought not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. And in every act of sacrifice, in every calculated maneuver, the humans showed the galaxy a truth that would echo for centuries. Courage, unity, and heart could turn even the direst odds into hope. The battle over the Talion 5 system had reached a breaking point. The human fleet, battered and bruised, faced the full fury of the Galactic Empire's forces. Massive cruisers, bristling with weapons, surged forward like an unstoppable wall. Superweapons glowed menacingly in the distance, ready to obliterate anything in their path. Yet the humans, scarred from previous clashes, did not waver. Aboard the Indomitable, Captain Elias Kane stood before the tactical console, calm and determined. His eyes swept across the fleet, taking in the damage reports, the positions of every ship, and the status of every pilot. He had lost friends, vessels, and crew members, but his resolve remained unbroken. "This is our moment," he said quietly, his voice carrying authority and quiet pride. "We fight not just for survival, but for every life the Empire has tried to crush. We hold the line and we push forward. Every choice, every maneuver counts." The humans moved with precision that seemed impossible. Damaged ships executed daring flanks, cutting through enemy formations. Engineers rerouted power to weapons and shields, sometimes sacrificing entire systems to keep the fleet alive. Pilots twisted and turned through enemy fire, striking where the Empire least expected. Each move required courage, skill, and trust. Every human on board knew the stakes. Failure meant death, but giving up was never an option. The Empire, used to obedience and predictable tactics, faltered. Admiral Varick's fleet, once confident and invincible, struggled to regroup.
Concentrate fire!
Varick shouted, his voice sharp with frustration. Destroy their leaders. Do not let them survive. But every strike seemed to be anticipated. Humans countered with ingenuity, improvisation, and fearless determination. Entire squadrons of Empire fighters were cut down, their formations broken by humans' daring maneuvers. In the chaos, individual acts of heroism shone like stars. A young pilot named Liran, still trembling hours ago, guided a crippled cruiser to safety while shooting down 3 enemy fighters. Engineers in the rear bays rigged temporary power surges to restore critical shields, saving civilian transports. Medical teams worked tirelessly, stitching wounds, stabilizing crews, and keeping spirits alive. Sacrifice, courage, and heart had become the fleet's most powerful weapons. Captain Kane's gaze rested on the Empire's flagship, massive and imposing, trying to intimidate the human fleet into submission. "We end this today," he whispered. "Not with fear, not with hatred, but with courage. We fight for life, for hope, and for the galaxy itself." He transmitted orders across the fleet. Human ships split, encircled, and attacked in ways that no Imperial tactician could predict. The tide began to turn. Empire ships fell one after another, their formations collapsing. Reports came in. Smaller human vessels had infiltrated critical command ships, disrupting communications and disabling weapons. Entire squadrons of the Empire surrendered, refusing to fight a force that seemed impossible to break. Across the galaxy, planets under the Empire's control trembled at the news. Humans were not just resisting, they were winning. For a brief moment, the void of space held silence. Kane looked at his crew, eyes steady and proud. "They expected fear," he said quietly, almost to himself. "They expected submission. They expected us to fail. But we fight, and that is enough." As the Empire retreated in disarray, human pilots cheered, their voices echoing across the fleet. Survivors of earlier skirmishes hugged one another, tears of relief and pride shining in their eyes. Even in exhaustion, the crew understood the enormity of what they had achieved. They had faced the greatest military power in the galaxy, and survived. They had protected lives, inspired hope, and reminded the universe that courage could not be crushed. Across Talion 5, civilians and colonies who had watched in fear now cheered. The legends of human bravery whispered across centuries had come alive. They had seen humans face impossible odds, adapt, survive, and triumph. The story of humanity was no longer just a tale. It was a truth written in the stars. Captain Kane's voice carried across the indomitable. "We are humans," he said firmly, "and humans never give up. Today we show the galaxy who we are. And tomorrow, we keep fighting for every life that needs us." In that moment, a spark ignited across the fleet. The humans had not only turned the battle, they had changed the galaxy's perception forever. Courage, unity, and heart had proven stronger than the galaxy had begun to change. The Empire, once feared across 1,000 systems, was faltering. Its fleets, massive and overwhelming, could not contain the unexpected human assault. Reports flooded Admiral Varick's command towers. Entire squadrons destroyed, strategic points lost, and critical supply lines severed. His once unshakable confidence wavered, replaced by frustration and disbelief. Aboard the Indomitable, Captain Elias Kane surveyed the battlefield with calm precision. Human ships, battered and scorched, still held their lines. Engineers worked tirelessly to patch hull breaches, recalibrate weapons, and restore shields. Pilots, young and old, maneuvered with focus and determination. Each human vessel was a testament to courage, resilience, and unwavering will. "Hold the formation," Kane said to his officers. "We have pushed them back. But this is not over. We fight until the galaxy knows humans cannot be broken." The Empire attempted to regroup, sending reinforcements in waves, hoping to crush the human fleet once and for all. Massive dreadnoughts emerged from hyperspace, their cannons glowing with lethal energy. But the humans anticipated them. Smaller ships acted as decoys, drawing fire while faster vessels struck at weak points in the dreadnought's armor. Engineers rigged emergency bursts that overloaded enemy shields, leaving them vulnerable. With every move, humans adapted, improvising strategies that the Empire could not predict. Even the Empire's best pilots and tacticians struggled to counter human ingenuity. One squadron of elite fighters charged a human convoy, only to be surrounded and neutralized by precise human maneuvers. Another fleet attempting a blockade found its routes sabotaged by a single human scout ship, slipping past defenses and striking at the heart of their command network. Every failure spread fear among Imperial ranks, something the Empire had not seen in centuries. On the Indomitable, Kane addressed his crew quietly but firmly. "We are stronger than they believed," he said. "They thought fear would stop us. They thought numbers would crush us. They were wrong. We fight for life, for hope, and for every being that cannot protect itself. Remember, every action matters. Every ship matters. Every human matters across the galaxy," whispers began. Systems long under Imperial rule sent secret messages of support to human forces. Colonies that had lived in fear for generations secretly prepared to rise. The galaxy, it seemed, had been waiting for a spark, and the humans had become that spark. Even as the Empire deployed massive superweapons to destroy entire sectors, human ingenuity and bravery turned the tide. One damaged cruiser, led by a young captain named Mara, drew fire from a superweep, while her crew guided civilian transports to safety. The sacrifice of one saved hundreds, perhaps thousands, and inspired every human ship in the fleet. Courage had become contagious, a weapon stronger than any laser or missile. Admiral Varick's frustration turned to panic. The humans were not retreating, not surrendering, they were advancing. The once feared Imperial fleet fractured under coordinated strikes, with entire divisions abandoning their posts or surrendering. Human ships, though fewer in number and scarred by battle, moved with purpose and unity that no machine, no empire, could crush. Kane watched as enemy formations collapsed, their retreat spreading chaos across the battlefield. "This is what they feared," he said softly. "Not power, not numbers, but humans who refuse to bow. Humans who fight with heart, courage, and unity. That is strength the galaxy has never seen." Reports confirmed it. Imperial communication networks were in disarray. Entire fleets were scattered, and countless star systems had begun resisting the Empire's rule. Across the galaxy, the legend of human courage grew. From tiny scout ships to the mighty Indomitable, humans had proven that fear and oppression could not stand against ingenuity, bravery, and will. Kane's crew, tired but unbroken, exchanged smiles, a rare warmth in the midst of destruction. They had fought, adapted, and survived. And more than that, they had changed the galaxy's perception forever. Humans were not fragile, not weak, not easily dismissed. They were fierce, unyielding, and impossible to ignore. As the battle waned and the Empire's fleets fled in disarray, Kane spoke to his crew one last time. "The galaxy has seen us," he said, voice steady, eyes bright with pride. "They know now what humans are. And tomorrow, we will continue to fight for every life that needs us." Across the stars, hope spread, and the humans, scarred but victorious, sailed onward, proof that courage, unity, and heart were stronger than any empire. The battle was over, but the echoes of explosions still rippled through space. The human fleet, battered and scarred, had survived what seemed impossible. Across the Talion 5 system and beyond, the Empire's forces fled in disarray, leaving shattered ships, broken formations, and stunned officers in their wake. Yet the humans did not celebrate recklessly. They had endured, yes, but they had also lost friends, comrades, and ships. Their victory was hard-earned, born of courage, sacrifice, and unshakable resolve. Aboard the Indomitable, Captain Elias Kane walked among his crew, offering quiet words of thanks, gentle pats on shoulders, and reassurances to those still shaken by battle. Young pilots hugged each other, some crying silently. Engineers leaned wearily against consoles, proud yet exhausted. Even the medics, who had seen too much death in too little time, allowed themselves a brief moment of relief. "We did it," Kane said softly, his voice carrying across the bridge. "We survived, we fought, and we protected those who could not protect themselves." The galaxy had seen something extraordinary. Planets long enslaved or oppressed by the Empire now whispered stories of human bravery. Colonies sent messages of hope, secretly preparing to rise, inspired by humans who had stared down an empire and refused to yield. Humans were no longer just a species, they were a symbol of courage, resilience, and the unbreakable will to fight for what is right. Kane stepped onto the viewing deck and looked at the fleet stretching behind him. Ships with scars from battle, Crews with stories of heroism and vessels that had survived against impossible odds all moved forward in quiet unity. They expected fear, Kane said softly, almost to himself. They expected us to bow. They expected us to fail. They never expected this. Our courage, our unity, our heart. They never expected humans. Across the fleet, crews shared quiet smiles, nods of acknowledgement, and small celebrations. Some looked at the stars, imagining home and loved ones, while others simply marveled at the strength they had found within themselves. Each ship, each person, had contributed to something far greater than themselves. They had shown that strength was not just in weapons or numbers, but in spirit, determination, and the refusal to surrender. Even Admiral Varric, aboard a fleeing flagship, could not hide his astonishment. The humans had survived, had adapted, and had rallied the galaxy in ways the Empire could never anticipate. For the first time, fear, the Empire's oldest weapon, failed completely. Humans did not just resist, they inspired. On Indomitable, Kane addressed the fleet through the universal communication channels, his voice calm, but filled with quiet authority. We are humans. We fight not because it is easy, but because it is necessary. We fight to protect life, to defend hope, and to prove that courage can overcome even the greatest darkness. The galaxy has seen us today, and it will remember. Fear will no longer define us. Humanity will define itself. As the ships moved forward, leaving the remnants of the Empire behind, civilians across liberated systems cheered. Children waved from spaceports, families rebuilt what had been destroyed, and leaders whispered words of thanks to the humans who had arrived seemingly from nowhere to defend the helpless. Across the galaxy, the legend of human courage became reality. Kane turned to his crew one last time, his eyes bright but gentle. We were tested, he said, and we endured. We were counted out, underestimated, and feared, but we survived. We smiled when others expected despair, and that is what makes us human. And across the stars, the galaxy understood something new. Humans were not fragile, not weak, and not easily crushed. They were a force of spirit, ingenuity, and courage unlike any the universe had seen. The Empire had been challenged, civilizations had been saved, and hope had returned. The human fleet sailed onward, battered but unbroken, as stars shone above and around them. The galaxy had been threatened, the Empire had been challenged, and humans had smiled. And in that smile lay the promise that no matter the darkness, humanity would always fight, always endure, and always inspire. The stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter that day, as if recognizing the indomitable spirit of a species that refused to bow. The galaxy had changed forever, and humans had led the way.